Hello, I'm here with MC LARS. Hey Lars.
Hey Bridget, good to see you again.
Yeah, you too. How are you doing?
Very good.
Yeah?
I guess the last time I saw you was in LA in 2008, 4 years ago.
Yeah, I know, time just flies, doesn't it?
It's awesome.
So you're back in the UK now, and what have you been doing here?
Well, I've been opening for Wheatus. This tour I'm just using my laptop. I'm putting out my greatest hits album in a week, so it's like a throwback tour to how I used to tour.
Nice.
With just my beats and my videos. So it's been really cool just realizing what I can do on my own and doing more of a DJ set than a band set.
Yeah.
Which is a different thing, but it's more rewarding and more fun.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Is it more you?
Yeah, I think people can hear me more, and I'm able to be more funny, and it's just more natural.
Yeah.
I feel like the band stuff is great for a song or two, but you can get buried. So it's fun. I'm just learning about, you know, how to carry the show, how to pace it, how to have fun. It's been great. Yeah.
Well, what I've always loved about you and seeing you perform live and everything is that, to me, the person on stage looks so real, and it's really you that's there.
Thanks.
You're welcome. But how easy is it for you to be you?
I think it's easier when you're by yourself.
Yeah.
I mean, I think when you have a band, people all want to, you know. I mean, it's easier when you're by yourself up there, at least for me. But you know, it's like, I think, yeah, that's the thing about hip hop. Hip hop is about being real, and if you can be real and express your truth, then it comes across better.
Yeah.
I think when hip hop is fake, it gets exposed or it doesn't last. You know, I'm going on 10 years, and it's such a blessing. I get to do this for a living.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
It's
But
cool.
how did you, like, not even performing, but in your life, how did you manage to become who you are? Because it's not easy for people growing up, is it?
Yeah, you know, I think my timing was right, but also I worked really hard. I was really into promoting myself and spreading the message and make sure my live show was good and energetic. I've just invested a lot of money and time and energy into it. You know what I mean? I started out, I was in uni, and I was performing around Oxford, and I met a bunch of punk and indie bands, and I offered to help them out, and they helped me out, and it all took off from there, you know? It was just being prepared and being like ready and having passion and being professional, you know?
Yeah. Well, if you look at your life, you became the person who you are through growing up, right? And I remember that a few weeks ago, I think, you were doing some online, kind of like a podcast. I don't know if it's really a podcast, but it was kind of where we could interact with you.
Oh yeah.
And I don't know if you remember, but then I asked you a question: if you thought that your thoughts determine reality.
Oh yeah, we're talking about The Secret, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's true.
Yeah?
I always believed that I could do this. And I think all the moments in my career where things weren't going so well, I was looking to other people or trying to be something that I imagined other people wanted to be. You know what I mean? Instead of believing that I had the power to do it.
Yeah?
And I think I think it's true. What do you think?
Well, yeah, I think it's true, but I don't know yet to what extent to believe it.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, imagine that I say, okay, I want to be a billionaire in 5 years. I do believe that you can make that happen if that's really what you want to.
Yeah.
But does it mean that you have to work for it, or does it mean that you really just have to believe in it and automatically the universe is going to put stuff in place for you to happen?
I think you have to work for it. I think you see signs on how to connect your life with your dreams, you know? Have you read a book called The Alchemist?
No.
It's a great book about a guy whose dream is to go see the pyramids. And he goes on this journey, and he eventually finds them, but he keeps seeing signs along the way that inspire his journey.
Yeah.
I don't think you can just wish for something to happen. And especially with the music business, there's a lot of sacrifice and compromise and ruthlessness. But if you work hard, I think you can achieve what you want, especially with the power of the internet. If you do creative videos or work with good directors, you can make really good music and make really good videos for nothing.
Yeah.
And then have a career touring, you know?
Yeah,
It's pretty cool.
Yeah. I can imagine. Well, one of the things I read in another book, I don't know if you've read that one, Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill.
I've heard of it. Yeah.
Well, it is really a good book, and it talks about a lot of things that you can well, kind of see also in The Secret. But one of the things is it talks about fear that holds people back. And one of those fears, especially I think in teenagers, can be fear of criticism. Is that a fear that you also have, or don't you have that at all? Or how do you cope with it?
I think at the end of the day, I know what I do is awesome, you know? And I know that I have something great to say, and I do it well. And I think, at first, yeah, I used to worry about what the press thought and what the critics thought. But that's when I was younger. I learned that it doesn't matter what a bunch of people you don't know have to say about you.
Yeah.
People could, like, yeah, I think criticism, I mean, there are a bunch of haters and trolls on the internet, you know? And those people have sad lives. I feel like people who make fun of me or anyone who's in a successful position are just jealous, you know?
Yeah.
They want to be there too, and so they're just, you just got to embrace them with love and like not let them mess with your head.
Yeah.
I think like there's a lot of haters out there, but they just got to find their own path. Maybe they're still searching, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think you're right. I think that's it, and it's wonderful that you approach it in that way, because a lot of people would approach it with hatred, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, you can't. Having fear of criticism and fear of failure and anything just manifests bad things.
Yeah.
You just got to block that out. And the other thing is to surround yourself with people who believe in you and who love you and who understand you. That's what I found. I was in a relationship with a girl for a few years, and she was always making me doubt myself. She had a very young, narrow vision of the world and art, and she didn't really understand the world I inhabit. And so so I had to break up with her because like she wasn't believing in me and supporting me. And I think that you have to surround yourself with positive people who love and get you. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do. But do you think it was out of fear? I mean, I don't want to talk about the relationship, but just...
I think it was her. She was younger. I'm 29. She was 23, and she was just figuring out her life. She was scared about the future, and like I couldn't. I tried to like convince her that it was going to be okay, but I was going to go on Warped Tour, and there was only a few days, and she was having doubts, and like I said, okay, well let me know, like, because I want to make this work. And then the window closed, and I was like, well, you didn't make up your mind. You know what I mean? You have to like be confident and be proactive with what you want in life. And if you, like with a relationship, you have to be strong for your partner. And any friendship, any musical relationship. You know, I try not to have people on my team who are doubters or who don't get it or who are negative.
Yeah.
Because there's no time. Life is too short, you know?
Yeah. That's brilliant. Well, but how were you able to, because that's the thing that I always have. Like there's so many things that I want to do, and I also want to have a loving relationship. I want to do Tasty TV. There's other projects that I'm working on, help people and so on.
Yeah.
But how were you able to like pinpoint, this is what I want to do? Like define it.
I think something that's been really beneficial this past year has been two things. The work I've done with the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention, which is my raising awareness about depression and taking the stigma out of suicide, and then doing hip-hop education, like going places. Like I went to this island off the coast of Massachusetts where Moby Dick was inspired, this island called Nantucket. I went there for 2 weeks and worked with the students and wrote raps with them and taught them about hip-hop. This summer I'm going up to Alaska to do that in a small fishing village for a week. And so doing education, working with young people. I've been working in LA at a public school with a lot of kids who don't have opportunities and access to recording equipment, helping them get in the studio to write raps about Edgar Allan Poe and stuff like that. And I did a lecture about hip-hop education at USC and had them come rap. So doing nonprofit work and for good groups like the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention and doing education work have been really positive. So I've learned that MC LARS is kind of more of a vehicle to help people and bring them joy and light, you know?
Yeah, oh, I know perfectly what you mean. That's how I see Tasty TV a little bit, but in a different way. I do it by talking to inspiring people.
That's awesome. That's really awesome.
Well, since you talked about the suicide prevention, there is one question that's been on my mind for a long time, and it's a very difficult one.
Yeah.
So I just want to hear your point of view. But like in this world, what I've noticed with myself, it took me a long time to get out of my shell and really believe in myself and even dare to say that I think I'm good at things. Because I've been raised in a very protective way. where my parents wanted to keep me safe, and that was the main concern.
Yeah.
But what I see in a lot of teenagers is that it's just that safety net that makes them feel trapped. Now, on the other hand, if you think that you can raise children with the belief that they can do anything and they get setbacks, that could also have a huge impact towards suicide. So what do you think is the best way to raise kids and teenagers on what to tell them about life?
I think you got to be real, because life is really happy and great, but it also can be really hard and sad. I think my friend Pat, who I wrote that song about, his relationship with the world was such that he had to hide the fact that he was gay, and I think that really was hard for him. He had a lot of secrets. I think you got to be real with your kids and let them know that there's a lot of potential they can do, but also life is hard. You know, I think you got to inspire them to achieve and teach them to believe in themselves. I don't know. I mean, I feel like I grew up really protected too. But once I graduated uni, I was able to follow this non-traditional path. I think my dad always told me you have to play the game, which means you have to set up all your opportunities right so you can follow the career that you want, you know? So being protected is good, because you don't want your students, you don't want your kids like drinking or smoking weed or doing drugs, like especially when they're young. And I think I was raised in a protected way, so I was like really straight edge. You know, and now like I drink sometimes, but like I'm not really like into drugs or anything like that. So it's like I'm inspired and focused and clear-minded. And I think that a lot of my friends, you know, that wasn't their life path. They kind of did the more traditional thing and partied in high school and stuff. But now a lot of them aren't happy. You know, they have jobs that aren't so fun. And I've been able to like build this weird career, this exciting, different, magical career. So you just gotta push your kids and believe in them and be real with them about what their obligations are. You can't, you know, I think the thing with self-esteem is sometimes you tell your kids they're the most amazing, beautiful, perfect people in the world, and then they don't end up achieving that. If you tell your kids they're perfect without them having to work hard, that's bad. But also if they work hard and you never give them positive affirmation, that's bad too. So you gotta I think you have to treat your kids like, you have to have rules and authority, but you also have to treat them as friends. So I don't know.
Well, thank you for that. I'm hesitating about asking this next question, so if you don't want to answer, you don't have to. But I'll tell you honestly what I've gone through too. But have you ever, in a moment in your life, thought about suicide?
Wow, that's a good question. I mean, sometimes, I had kidney stones right before I saw you in 2008, and I had to go to the hospital, and that's the worst pain ever. Like sometimes when you're in really bad physical pain, you feel like you want to die, or like a really bad emotional pain. But you know, my thing is I really believe in God, and I was raised Christian, and that's something I've come back to, and God doesn't want us to hurt ourselves, you know, and that's just, not everyone believes it in the same way, but I have this deep Christian faith that really keeps me going. So yeah, everyone's had those thoughts. I've had those thoughts, but I don't think that's the plan for me, you know. So that's what keeps me going. Every day can be better. The worst day can like give birth to a better tomorrow, you know. Always life, even when you feel like you're at your bottom or the most pain ever, you get better, you know. Breakups or physical stuff, you know.
It does. I mean, it always changes because people go through so much, and when you look back at bad times, you're kind of happy that they happened, because every time something great came out of it.
And you learn, you get stronger. And the other thing is, I remember when I was going through, when I was having my kidney stones, my ex-girlfriend's mom was in the hospital with me, and she goes, this horrible pain that you're going through will help you empathize with people, help them through it, you know?
That's true.
And there's so many people who were affected by 23 and the AFSP stuff. Like last night, a guy in wherever we were, he told me that song inspired him not to kill himself. It's stuff like that. Like you going through pain, you can make the world better. That's why we suffer, so we can help people. You know, you look at Buddhism, and that's the whole religion is based on compassion. And that's really what Jesus was saying too. Like, be compassionate. You can take away all the dogma and rules, and that's really just all the best philosophies of religion have that. So going through pain gives you the ability to have compassion, right?
It does. Are we still okay with time?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
You sure?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Yeah?
Definitely.
Because I mean, you just talked about a subject, religion, and it's something that when I was younger, I rebelled against it.
Yeah.
Because I thought they were telling me stories that weren't true, so I just rebelled.
Yeah.
But now I'm starting to realize that there's so much beauty in it. I've actually read the Bible. I've read, more into Buddhism and other different cultures, even like shamanism and other things.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's true what you just said. They all have this core of just compassion and really learning to understand your own inner power and your belief system. So, like, why Christianity?
I think it's just how I was raised, you know?
Yeah?
It's just something I identify with. I mean, I think it's also a Western thing, you know? Like, if I were maybe brought up in India or Asia, like, I'd probably have a different religion. I think it's more cultural. I mean, I think the thing for me, Christianity is, a lot of Christians think that Jesus is the only way to the light or whatever. And I think it's one path of many that still has great, deep symbolic meaning.
Yeah.
Someone who really surprised me, like, you know, a lot of my heroes have that, are Christian. I was talking to Weird Al, he's a friend of mine, and I didn't know that he's Christian, but he said he goes to church every week when he's not on tour.
Yeah.
And he was brought up in that religion. And that's interesting because he's someone I've always looked up to, and you can see it in his morality and his message and his, you know, his spirit. And I don't know, I just think, like, it can be helpful. The rules in the community and everything. Yeah. So really, it's more of a family thing, but it's something I've come to grips with, you know?
Yeah. No, I understand. I guess for me, I don't really have a definition at the moment of what I believe in. I could just say that I'm spiritual. So I can relate to what you're saying, but also what maybe someone who follows Muslim traditions would say.
Yeah.
But that's really cool how you formulated it. I'm just trying to think if there's anything else that I want to ask, because it's just brilliant. I think that's it. I mean, I think from all the things that you said, there's so much inspiration in there, and there's so much to read in it, that I hope that the people that are watching this take the trouble to really look a bit further and investigate. That's maybe one thing I still want to ask. What did you do to reach these levels of, I'm going to use a stupid term because I can't think of anything else, but enlightenment?
I think, you know, I do a lot of meditation and reading and looking inward. I think the answers are all around us, you know? Yeah. I think I was blessed with a spiritual family, you know? How about you?
For me, it's a bit strange, but well, if you don't mind, I'm kind of taking over your interview. For me, it's a bit strange. Like I said, I was raised quite protective, and my family is Catholic, because again, that's more of like a tradition in Belgium.
Yeah.
But my family is really, really loving and caring, and we've always been very tight. But because I had to grow up in a way where I was taught to always be safe, I had a lot of difficulties with that, and it manifested itself in my health. So I became very ill, and when I became very ill, it was so bad that I couldn't get out of bed like for 9 months, and I felt so guilty. That's when I thought about actually killing myself, because of the guilt of just feeling that you're a burden. But then, luckily, I met someone who was able to cure me in the non-traditional medicine way, and everything changed because of that person. He worked with Rife therapy. I don't know if you ever heard of that.
What is that?
Well, it's like it's a special kind of wave, so longitudinal waves, kind of like radiotherapy, but more intense, that go through your body, and they will help your cells regenerate, and they will get rid of anything, like any viruses, fungus, bacteria, anything, they'll get rid of it.
Wow.
It was invented by someone in 29, and they actually locked him up in the crazy house, just to summarize really quickly, because of course, well, the pharmaceutical industry doesn't always look very kind upon those things.
Yeah.
But because of that person, I explored and I started to look into other therapies, and I met people, and Even got into healing for a while, and just started growing. And that's when I really started living.
Yeah.
So it's just opening yourself up and taking that jump and really dare to live, because otherwise life will just get back at you. If you don't want to live, you won't live, you know?
I know. That's awesome. That's really cool. I think that's what music is, something that's always inspired me. Always kept me going.
Yeah.
And this year I've really realized why, you know? Because it's like, when you go on tour for a long time, then you come home, you realize that you really miss being around music all the time. Or seeing your old friends like you know? So it's like, that's true, you gotta get ready, you gotta make sure you're living every day.
Yeah.
That's really good. I'm glad that you found your health and your joy. It's really cool.
Well, thanks for this, Lars. That was really
It's good to see you.
You too.
Taste of TV. Peace.